So let's start. Thank you, everyone, to be here because, without your presence, the event would not be happening, So thanks to you. Thanks to Georgia, thanks to the crew, which permits this event. I would like to start from a personal experience at the age of 20 years old, 40 years ago. I found myself as a guitarist in progress without finding people with whom I could build a musical project, like a band. So, yeah. So we were many, but apart to limited economic possibilities, I could not find a chance to be able to express myself as I was. We were in the post-punk period of the first years of the 80s, and during this matter of personal frustration, I had the fortune to find in one of the many zines and sheets, xerocopy around Europe and the world, an article regarding a weird and particular artist whose name was Austin Osman Spare. You could see one of them, Grok, from mid-1983, published by David Mitchell in Bristol, but there were many, starting to spread info about what could be considered weird stuff, So having spent during my adolescence the final stage of, the so-called rock before 1976, and in an age where I think all from 18 years old to 20 years old, we are not able to find something that could be interesting deeply, even if you have listened to music, read books and poems, interested in art and all its branches. For me, Spare represented to put a full stop from which starting my personal research in the methods of magic, art, and mystical experience. It was like throwing everything in a dustbin and remaining with him. One of the many reasons of this, and he has many, it was pushing to myself to take a pencil and do scribbles and draw. Many of you nowadays know about, after decades of spreading about this work, know Spare, In 1916, after the First World War, Spare published in his magazine Form an article titled Automatic Drawing. He stated that the artist at the end learned before or after in his or her career that the power of the literal reproduction is slightly useful to him. But he affirms that beyond this simplified consciousness exists a region much greater of that previous one to explore. So he suggests that it must be used a method subconscious for correcting the accuracy of the conscious vision. Manual ability and awareness of the mistake are not enough, and so they appear useless, the only interest or ability. The premise would be to free the mind from the not essential concession, so to be able to permit through a medium transparent and clear, without prejudice of any sort, to obtain the expression of the forms and ideas more subtle and abstract. He continues saying, an automatic scribble of twisting and interlacing lines permits the germ of an idea in the subconscious mind to express or at least suggest itself to the consciousness. From this mass of procreative shapes full of fallacy, a feeble embryo of idea may be selected by the artist to full growth and power. By this means, may the profoundest depths of memory be drawn upon him, the springs of instinct stepped. Spare advised that this is not that with this means a normal person could become someone, on brackets, but underlines a perceptive posture that could be utilized. He quotes Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was saying, among other things, I shall not scruple to discover a new method of assisting the invention, which was trifling in appearance, may yet to be of considerable service in opening the mind and putting it upon the sense of new thoughts. And it is this. If you look at some old wall covered with dirt, or the odd appearance of some streaked stone, you may discover several things like landscapes, battles, clouds, uncommon attitude, draperies. Leonardo da Vinci was expressing a form of pareidolia, which is perception of real forms that are interpreted as fantastic images, usually of an anthropomorphic nature, in a way more or less conscious. Para means beyond, idolo means image. So the automatic drawing is a means of expression that is used with courage and honesty, permits to register the subconscious activities of the mind. The mental mechanisms are similar to the dreams, creating swift perception of relation with the unpredictable with the sensorial and psychoneurotic symptoms. The mind, in a state of oblivion, without the desire toward reflection or pursuit of materialistic intellectual suggestion, is in a condition to produce successful drawings of one's personal ideas and symbols in meaning and wisdom. In his previous book, The Book of Pleasure, written between 1909 and 1913, Spare had just disclosed also this technique that gives the chance to explore the realms of the subconscious or of something that doesn't appear to the normal vision, but that is inside us, which at the same time connect us to something which is outside us, like a cosmic joke. At a certain point, with a variety of forms and direction, there will not be a conscious guide evolving form, style, and meaning. Emphasize that automatic drawing is a cure for insanity because it exposes the wounded sentiment, allowing the consciousness to recognize what is obsessing, and thus reason begins afresh. We could see some drawings from a book of automatic drawings made by Spare, I think 1925, which was published by Catalpa Press in England in the 70s. What we could take from this story regarding our approach to spirituality, esotericism, or magic, as you want to call it, you know. First of all is the contact, as we have suggested, something other and beyond that we don't know, but that it is also inside ourselves. Because we came from that invisible sphere to appear in this wild planet. In the spiritual realm, there are two aspects that are considered fundamental and the building of all the practice. The first is emotion. The second is imagination. Imagination creates. With simple exercise nowadays, you could arrive to see objects or holograms that you could imagine and create, you know, visible, even if they are not mundane or material. Without emotion, we don't go anywhere. And we know perfectly well. Moreover, the spiritual realm usually has other two fundamental points of contact with the realms beyond the mundane one. Possession, when an entity considered as a cluster of energy, more or less conscious, a spirit, a demigod, as you want to take possession of a person, usually deleting his or her conscious state, so to be the divinity or spirit evoked. There are many examples of this, we know. The other is the contact which was used also usually in the Gnostic sects and in other traditions like Tantra, where a part of our being is conscious of his vehicle, his or her body, and awareness, while another part is exposed was dark zone that we could be called as you like, subconscious, personal, universal, or super or universal. All these features that we have recalled could be found in the type of art which usually is linked to spiritual, religious, or mystic environments. In art, it is present an expression whose name is akeropita, that in Greek means not made of human hand. This term is used for indicating images or objects to which the tradition attribute to a miracle or origin, because they were not work of the artist, but will have had appear by themselves for divine intervention. Usually, akeropita works refers to the face of Jesus Christ. The most famous image was impressed on the shrouds, that in Turin, in Italy, or the Mandilion. The Mandilion is a shroud texture lost on which was impressed the face of Jesus. In the Orthodox Church, this tradition has reserved a particular cult because they became relics. But Austin Osman Spare has described once that he fell asleep on his work table, and then when he awoke, he had found a drawing wholly made. It is referred about also some mediums that in a trance state of possession are able to paint masterpiece. A contemporary artist told me that she was working in having more knowledge of the divinity Santa Marta la Dominadora, the ruler. Apart from starting to have a relationship with her, with rituals and meditation, she wanted to draw her. But when done, there was missing an emotional connection to her face. And that she was not satisfied, so she had to delay it many times, the face, till at a certain point she felt that at a certain point she was painting her. And this is the drawing, the painting. So, Spare was not alone in focusing in the first year of the 20th century of the value of the unconscious in the production of creative actions. We have many examples of the Dada, Surrealist, Cadavre Exquisite, the automatic writing, automatic drawing. This work creates a conception that is different to what is before regarding the artist as a person gifted with creative capacities, so that he was able to produce artworks, of grandiosity and beauty. And the history of art, as it's a trusted witness. We have Michelangelo, Giotto, all the big paintings. But it's emerging a concept that creative production could be linked to any kind of person, so that he could express in his exigencies and his impulses that in other way could be lost. In 1945, Jean Dubuffet coined the term Art Brut, defined as marginal art, irregular art, spontaneous art, for indicating the productions accomplished by non-professional persons, not academic, or that are operating out of the conventional aesthetic norms, self-taught, psychotics, prisoners, persons who didn't have an artistic culture. In 1972, the art critic Roger Cardinal coined the term outside art. When there is no interest in pursuing an artistic career, avoiding the worries of competition, social promotion, the items should have a more deep meaning and preciosity on the usual artistic production. Outside the art has its own branches, which is the most important one is the art of the people who are interned in psychiatric wards. First expounded by the group Der Blaue Reiter, I don't know if it's correct in German, with Kandinsky and Meeke. We find a deep inspiration by the works of people, recluses, and considered mad. Major exponent was Adolf Wolfli, with a production of like 25,000 pages and 1,600 illustration and 1,300 collage. Other terms used are folk art, related to work associated with peasant communities, visionary art, works with refers to matter related to spiritual, religion, marginal art, the geometric art, ethnic art, prisoner art, and visionary environment, sculpture and buildings built by visionary artists from decorated the house to large parks. The items are various and different, apart from drawing and paintings, there are sculpture and also dresses, masks, with many materials, wood, metal, and so on. Nowadays, the branch of so-called outside art or Art Brut is recognized in museums and galleries all over the world. In 2012, in Venice, at the Biennale of Arts, devoted under the term the Encyclopedic Palace, part of it to present some of the most famous exponents of this art, as Lesage, Schroeder Sonnenstern, Adolf Wolfli, Marcel Kunzel, Italia, among also the artworks of Rudolf Steiner, Carl Gustav Jung, and there were also the Tarot by Crowley, Frida Harris. Cases of medianity and contact with the invisible world are frequent in outside art, and we could also see that this current is nowadays vibrant and present, many of them related to invisible worlds and the spiritual vision. So let's browse some of these artists, which are contemporary, which are presented in a magazine, which I suggest you to check, because I took them, and is the only magazine which I subscribe is Raw Vision. It started as a fanzine in the 80s, and now is a biannual magazine, and you could find a lot of this stuff around. So we start. Rory McCormick from Wales, fisherman, created on a hill overlooking an English seaside town, a shrine to ancient deities. There is we could see a Mexican fire god served as a brazier and a beer table. Then there is Bes, the Egyptian dwarf god, and Pan, the Greek god. So sculpture, creating a park. Then we have Ted Ludwigczak's Polish origin, settled in the state of New York. He took rocks from the bank area of the river and then created sculpture. And he said, I seek to respond to the spirit of each stone, to be guided by each piece aura and texture, creating phases with almond-shaped eyes. There is a saying that they say, a stone has a thought. Yes, but maybe every, 1,000 years, has a thought. So, then there is then there is a Haiti sculpture. There is a group of Haiti sculpture called La Grande Rue in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, collective group formed by 3 artists. They do wood carvings, metal sculpture, and assemblage. Much of the works of the 3 artists reference to Guédé, the law of sex and death. In 2006, the Grand Rue sculpture were commissioned to create a permanent exhibition for the International Museum of Slavery in Liverpool. Then we have this guy, Reginald English. Yes, maker of painted metal in Jamaica, born around the 30s of the past century. In 1972, was taught to draw, suggesting to combine his drawings with metal work, vividly colored. So he started to build a library of the folk spirits of Jamaica. Then Dilmus Hall was born in 1900. I think he died around the 80s. He started to use concrete, scrap lumber, bit of metals, and house paint, crafting both large-scale pieces and small objects. I put this because I like what he said. And he said, you come to the world, you have ideas, and God don't take them away from you, This is, I find it very beautiful. And was doing like this. Then, Catherine Garrigou, born in Paris, 1954, after the death of a relative in 2011, which left her devastated, the loss opened to herself a new form of creativity which we could see. Discovered the healing through altered state of dreaming and deep thinking, meditation, where she encountered visible realms embedded in her unconscious, so they are like portals to invisible realms, reflecting personal exploration within herself. Her quest is to reveal the beauty of the mystery of creating and of the soul. And I like what she said. She said, I am a wanderer in the metropolis of my mind. I love it. Christine Sefolosha. Christine Sefolosha from Switzerland, living a long time in South Africa, and then returned to Switzerland, and as an equestrian, married to a Veteranian. She could be called an animistic world viewer. She found solace in the music, dance, and visual art of the African Act group in South Africa, and she said that the exploration of creativity was in part inspired by a book about North American Indians that was given her at the age of 4. Her awareness of the religion of native people manifested via the communion with the animal kingdom, you know. Greg Bromley, born in 1973 from Hull, living in Glasgow, social worker, interested in expressing his peculiar form of quantum physics and different planes of reality and reality, a sort of molding the matter, taking out unexplored realms. He says, all of the pieces come from a place of, I don't know, maybe chaos. I think I control that chaos by shaping the characters and containing them with composition. And you see how beautiful they are. They are normal people, you know. Usually, maybe they don't come to Occult Festival. But you see how beautiful. And for someone, maybe it's like, you know, coming home, you know, because you feel some connection with this. 3 minutes. Oh, my God. So we go fast. Isabella Ortiz, born in 64 in Paris, moved to Australia. I cut short a bit. Then we have Jean Brousseau, born in 1952, so we are contemporary, they are our age. Then Chris Kukri, which is very beautiful, because he born in Lawrence, Kansas, 1973. He says that he had an experience with some sort of alien, even before they were called grays. And when he made construction, utilized manufacturer model kits, creating large sculpture, even of 6 feet high. Using also model like. Then we have Margot. Margot is born in 1982. When I look at the work I have created, I say myself inside. His art is intuitive, immersive, and compulsive. Oh, maybe I was wrong. This is, excuse me, I was wrong. This is Marcos Bontempo, self-taught artist, born in 1969, Cordoba, Argentina. It depicts angel, demonic beings, an hybrid of human, animals, plants. Then we go swift. We have Margot. You could see how beautiful they are. And then Nick Fraser. This is very interesting. A working-class factory worker from the East End of London, born in 1946, passed away 2023. Suffered rheumatoid arthritis, which became as crippling by the time he reached 40s. He worked for 32 years in a sugar refinery factory. Some say how on earth is this factory worker coming out with stuff that looks like Aboriginal tribal art, things like with chakras, energy, and things he shouldn't know. But somewhere along the lines, it does as he captures them. You see? Then we have an Italian one, Tommaso Boldini, 1979, and it working like this. The last reference which I want to make knowledge is the living master, Michael Bertiaux. I guess some of you know pretty well about him. At his age, he's, in my opinion, only one of the few real living masters in contemporary Western esotericism. Kenneth Grant, in Cult of Shadow, introduced to the public this particular fusion and union between Gnostic mysticism and Haitian voodoo, transplanted in Chicago. Her books are fundamental works in the late past century and for the future one. In the last years, he has devoted himself wholly to fully focus his work on drawing and painting, and as also it was incorporated in his magical work with Cameo, Magical Square, Veve, the drawings of Haitian voodoo, Italia. And you could see by yourself, he expressed a deep connection with the invisible world, as I present to you. The drawings reverberating always that profound atmosphere. Ectoplasm, spirits, visitor are so vividly drawn, an energy vibrating that each of them could bring you to an open door to other dimensions. I'm close. Yeah. I go fast because we closed. And this is one of the curious pieces made by are passports. Wow, passports that permit the practitioner to gain access to other states of perception. You don't enter free in there if they don't know you, you know. So you must have a passport. So I close. My last advice, humble advice, take a pencil and start to draw. And then maybe you will find something else from what you expect. And I close quoting Austin Osman Spare. Real art, fundamentally weak, as in composition, arises when a law, a code or mannerism does not allow spontaneity. Art only is eternal wisdom. What is art soon perishes. Art is the subconscious love of all things. Learning will cease and reality become known when it comes to pass that every man is an artist. Art is love. Wisdom and folly is the difference of degree. To realize rhythmic juxtaposition is culture. Thank you for your attention and blessing to you.